Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about setting goals. This is timely because it is the new year, and I know everyone is thinking about what goals they want to set in the different areas of their life. Now, I got to tell you guys, goal setting is a big thing for me. This is something that I learned early on, and because I have seen such success from setting goals, well, it makes me want to set more goals. You know, my husband and I will sit down often every new year and even every few months after that to set goals together and then reevaluate our goals. Because let's be honest, goals are different than resolutions. Resolutions sound kind of like a dream or a wish or just this idea of something you'll do more of this year, and it's all fun and inspiring. But the truth is, we fall off the wagon by March. Think about the gym. In January, you can't find a treadmill anywhere, but by March, walk right in and you can start running. You know, that's why goals are so important. They're different than resolutions because goals are all about action. And in fact, your goals can even change throughout the year. Maybe you set a resolution in January, but by September, you've got different priorities. Well, that's why you need to learn the habit and the skill of setting goals so you can set it not just in January, but even throughout the year as your priorities shift. You know, Zig Ziglar really made this whole idea popular with something that he called the Wheel of Life. But let's go ahead and do a quick recap. One area is your career. I would go ahead and include your business in this because this is the area where you are using your gifts to do some type of work that matters to you. So one area of the Wheel of Life is your career, and you want to think about where you want to be in your career. You know, Dave Ramsey says all the time, success does not happen by accident. No one wins the Super Bowl by accident. So if you want to make progress in your career, if you want to advance, if you want to get promoted, if you want to make more money, if you want to build your business, well, you need to set some goals in this area. The second area of the Wheel of Life would be your finances. This is another area that you need to set some goals. So maybe you want to set a goal to pay off your debt or save for a big vacation or maybe something else. Your finances, like your career, will not improve by accident. So that's why this area is another one that you want to set some goals in this year. A third area would be your spiritual growth or your faith life. This is an area that often we kind of neglect. We just float along and we see our faith as an ornament in our lives. It's just kind of on the outside. And sometimes if we get inspired or we're having a hard time, we'll pray or refer to our Bible. But you know what? You're only going to grow in any of these areas in proportion to the amount of time that you commit. So you want to be intentional here, just like you are in your career or in your finances. A fourth area would be your physical health. This is your body. You want to take care of the one body that you were given. So, what goals do you have there? And it doesn't have to be losing weight. There's a lot more to physical health than just being skinny. How do you feel? How's your energy? Maybe you want to set a goal to drink more water or eat more leafy greens. That's fine. There's a lot of different ways that you can improve your physical health and take care of your body by setting goals in that area. A fifth area would be your intellectual growth. So your mind. How are you taking care of your mind? What nonfiction books are you reading? What conferences are you attending? What podcasts are you listening to? How are you investing in your own intellectual growth? If you don't invest there, I promise you, you won't grow. And you're probably not going to grow there by scrolling Facebook and Instagram, right? So how can you set a goal to grow? To learn a new skill, to learn a new industry, to try something outside your comfort zone. You're not going to grow by staying where you are, only resting on what you already know. Instead, you want to set a goal to grow, even in your intellectual growth. Now, another area would be your family. And for most people, this would be the most important area in the Wheel of Life. But you know what? Like all of these areas, it won't improve if we're not intentional. So instead of just coming home at the end of every day and letting your family get the rest of you, give them the best of you. What goals can you set with your family? Maybe you set a new family goal this year that you are going to go on one family night out every single week. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It could be a picnic at the park. Maybe you set a family goal that you're going to go on some adventure or try something new or learn a new skill as a family. You're going to take a cooking class or maybe go canoeing or do something fun. Set goals in your family so that you're sure that you're being intentional there as well. Similar to our faith, our family can kind of just be there along for the ride. It's not something that we're intentional, that we invest in, that we even set goals in. I'll give you a really specific example from last summer for me. And this may sound silly, that's totally fine. But I know that if I set a goal in a particular area of my life, I'm much more likely to work on that area. I'm much more likely to focus on that area. I'm much more likely to make that area a priority. So last summer, on the back of a receipt, scribbled down were my 5 goals for the summer. And one of those goals was being outside and active with my boys. And simply by writing that down helped me actually do it. So every day when I would come home from work at 5 o'clock, I would change out of my work clothes, take off my jewelry, put on some running shorts and my tennis shoes, and immediately go outside with my boys. Sometimes we went to the playground. Sometimes we walked to the duck pond. Sometimes we'd hop in the car and drive to Sonic to get an ice cream milkshake. Whatever we did, I was always being outside and playing with my boys. Why? Because I wanted to, because it was important to me, but also because I set a goal there. So what goals do you want to set in regards to your family? Making sure that your family is a priority. And the last area of the wheel of life would be social. So this includes your friendships. Now, I'll be honest, this is an area that often fades to the back burner, especially when you're busy. I have gone months without seeing my friends, which is embarrassing to say. But you know what? If you set a goal in this area of your life, like all of the other areas, well, it's much more likely to actually happen. So whether that means that you're going to RSVP to a party, yes, or you're going to have a regular hangout time with your girlfriends where y'all go to dinner once a month, it doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter where you do it. It just matters that you do it. So don't neglect your friendships because, man, that matters just like all of these other areas. But this lesson today is more about setting goals in those areas. Now, maybe those areas completely cover everything that's important to you, or maybe you have some areas of your life that I didn't include in the Wheel of Life recap. Regardless, I want you to set goals this year because your ability to set goals will completely affect how you end this year. Not just how you start it, but how you end it. So let's talk about the qualities that a goal needs to have to be an actual goal. A goal needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable, and it needs to have a time limit. So let's use an example. A New Year's resolution might be, I want to run more. Okay, that's good. However, it's not specific, it's not measurable, and it doesn't have a time limit on it. So let's add those qualities to this resolution and turn this resolution into a goal. Okay, you want to run more. Well, like how? Do you want to run long distance running? Do you want to do sprints? Do you want to run on the treadmill? Do you want to run outside? Do you want to do trail runs? Do you want to join a running group? There's a lot of different ways for you to run more, okay? It also needs to be measurable. So how much more? You run 1 mile right now and you'd like to work your way up to where you're running 5 miles without stopping. Or maybe you want to sign up for a race and run a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, or a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. What is the distance? What is the measurable metric that you want to be able to run in order to know that you've actually achieved this goal? And then third, it needs a time limit. By when? You want to run more by when? So let's say, for example, that you turn this resolution of I want to run more this year into a very specific goal. I want to do long distance running and train for a half marathon and complete a half marathon by March 30th. Okay, great. That's a goal. You know how you're going to do this goal. You know how long you're going to run this goal. You know by when you're going to finish this goal. And when you know those different qualities, it's specific, measurable, and has a time limit, then you know exactly what you're working on and working toward, and you know if you're on track as you go. And then, of course, because you have these different metrics, you know if you achieved it or not. You either ran a half marathon by March 30th or you didn't. And what's so great about this is it really does hold you accountable. I'll tell you guys, when I was writing my book, Business Boutique, this was how I stayed on track. I had a specific goal of writing a book, a specific word count, a specific chapter count that I had to track as I was going. And as soon as I got off track, which happened more than once, I knew what I had to do to catch up and keep up with my progress to reach my goal by my manuscript deadline. When you set goals that are specific, measurable, and have a time limit, it really is your accountability tool to get you to where you want to be. Okay, so that's what makes an actual literal goal. However, if you really want to reach these goals that you're going to set this year, they need to have 3 more qualities to be a good goal, to be a strong goal. Okay, let's talk about what those are. First, it needs to be yours. That's right. It needs to be something that you want. I tell you guys this all the time, but if you want to achieve anything in life, especially if you want to achieve something big or new or different, like a goal, well, you've got to want it bad enough and you've got to be willing to work hard enough. That means that it needs to be yours. Just because your husband wants you to cook more doesn't mean that you're going to cook more if you don't want to cook more. You need to have a goal that you want to achieve. Just because your dad wants you to be a doctor doesn't mean you're necessarily going to achieve that goal, because here's the thing. Any goal that you set that you don't really want, you're not going to work for, which means you're going to procrastinate, you're going to make excuses, it's going to be a burden, it's not going to be fun, and you're probably not going to achieve it. And then even if you do achieve this goal that you don't want, that's not yours, then what? Then what? All you've done is spent your time and effort and energy this year chasing someone else's version of success, chasing someone else's finish line. So should you let people speak into your goals? Sure, absolutely. There is wisdom in counsel. However, at the end of the day, the goals you set and the goals you work on this year and how you spend your life this year should be things that you actually want to do. I know that sounds simple, but so often we miss this and we end up chasing someone else's version of success. So make sure that when you're setting goals this year, they are your goals. All right, let's talk about another quality that your goals need to have to be strong goals. Well, they also need to be realistic. Now, I gotta be honest, this is hard for me. This is hard for me to talk about because I'm optimistic, because I'm a dreamer, because I'm a mover shaker. I'm like, we can make anything happen. But the truth is you can't. Yeah, you can't. You can't be anything you want to be despite what people would love to tell you. For example, I cannot ever be a successful basketball player in the WNBA. Why? Well, for one, I'm not tall enough. Number 2, I've never played basketball my whole life. And number 3, I have terrible hand-eye coordination. Like, it's the worst. I played soccer and ran track growing up. My hands, I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands. I can't. Depth perception is not my thing, okay? So basketball's out for me. Okay, cool. Be president of the United States. I could never be president of the United States. Now, that's not because I don't believe in myself. I believe in myself. I just don't enjoy politics at all. I would never want to be a part of the political rat race or do what was required to get to that level of political success. So no, that's out for me. That's not realistic. There is a long list of things that I could never do, no matter how many times I set a goal there. And honestly, the same is true for you. So when you set goals this year, let's look at those goals and make sure they're realistic. They need to be a stretch. You need to have God show up. They need to push you outside your comfort zone, but they need to not be a pipe dream. They need to be something that's realistic. I'll give you another example. Several years ago, whenever my first son, Carter, was born and my hands were full, I was launching this brand and working on my book and working on launching this podcast. All these things were going on. I was sitting in a small group with some friends, and I remember a guy telling me that his goal for the year was to read 30 books. I was like, that's amazing. I should read 30 books this year. No, y'all. No. In a year when I have a new baby and I'm barely sleeping or showering, it's probably not a good idea to set a goal to read 30 books that year. That is not a good goal or realistic for that season of life. So look at your goals and make sure they're at least a little realistic. They're a little bit attainable. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to push and stretch, and God's going to have to show up and provide for you, but they're possible. It's something you can actually make happen this year. And then lastly, in addition with being yours and being realistic, they also need to be in writing. I've talked about this before, but there is power in writing things down. When you write down your goal on paper, you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, it's tangible, and importantly, it's out here in the real world, outside the battlefield of your mind. Because if your goals are only in your mind, it is so easy to dismiss them, forget them, let the enemy talk you out of them, let the enemy tell you that they're stupid and they're a bad idea and you'll never achieve them. No. Write them down. Put them on paper. They take on a new level of power and accountability when they're in writing. But I want you to make sure they have 3 more qualities to make sure they're a strong goal. They need to be yours, they need to be realistic, and they need to be in writing. If you set goals this year, whether that's in January or July or November, it doesn't matter. If they have these 6 qualities, I promise you, you're much more likely to achieve the goal and get to where you want to be. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you need help setting goals this year or anytime, well, I've got a free tool for you that will help you do that. You can download my free goal setting tool by clicking the link below.